Welcome to the Two Dudes Talk Music YouTube channel. I am the Reverend Raff.
We did it. We made it.
Because when a band's name starts being everywhere, it can be very easy to go like, okay, like.
Just because I know what it's like to feel left out and to feel like people are weird or mean to you, and so I never want to be that person, and I want.
This here is my good friend Kyle, aka the BeerBuddy.
Big opportunity. You guys must be stoked you're on the first day too, because you can just sort of shoot. Yeah, you can just relax.
Brian was sitting down with his longtime friend and his former bandmate Meegs from Cold Chamber, and they were having coffee, and Brian was.
When those questions go, those hearty chuckles.
You know what that laughter says to me is like, people y'all don't even know what's coming. People are just going to be minds are going to be blown by that.
No, it will be a fucking banger.
What is happening, everybody? I am the Reverend Raff, along with my good friend Kyle, aka the BeerBuddy.
What's going on, everybody?
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are back on your screens and in your ears today with another thrilling podcast episode. Before we get into that, though, as per usual, I do have to do the usual spiel, so if you'll bear with me for a minute. We are the two dudes who talk music. If you're new around here, hello. We are two friends from Sydney, Australia, with a deep passion for music, and particularly heavy and alternative music, and we love sharing cool stuff about that with one another and with you amazing people. We have the podcast that comes out every Thursday, as well as reaction videos that drop throughout the week. So if that sounds like your jam, subscribe button's right there. We are on a journey to try and get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. We would love to have you along for the ride. We do also have a Patreon. It's just a couple of bucks a month. Helps cover some of the costs of the channel because, you know, the channel is what it is. It's a small channel, you know what I mean? Like, and it just helps.
We need
to cover
money for concert tickets and to pay for
bro. If this isn't covering the cost, this channel's not covering the cost of going to a local show on the weekend, mate. Like this is not. But anyway,
we need to pay for the Zoom thing.
It's
so we can speak for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. That's basically it.
That's literally it.
And then also the podcast distribution, so we can get back on Spotify. But look, if you know, it's just a couple of bucks a month for the Patreon. If you're interested in that, you get everything early and ad free. It means the world to us. You know, but if not, totally fine. We get it. Everyone's asking you to subscribe to their stuff these days, but I will give a shout out to our absolute legends over on Patreon. Alien, Ghost Tech, Teresk, Tim, and the other one. The absolute legends. They've been down since day one, supporting us for a long time now. We really, really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Mate, how have you been?
Dude, good. Like we spoke about before, you know, listen to the Igor album. That was bloody amazing, you know.
Okay. Let me give me like. I want you to take me through your experience as you were listening through that.
So I hit half of it at work, and then I hit the other half on the way home. And I'll tell you what, just how there were so many different layers to the thing. There were operatic parts. There was so much involved. Like it felt like it felt like it needed a video accompaniment. Like you could have told the biggest story along with that whole album, and it would have worked. It almost like it almost had like it could have been like a heavy metal Fantasia.
Yeah, 100% agree, dude.
You know what? Like, okay, cool. That's the best way I can describe it. Just how vast the sounds were and the journeys that the music took you on. It almost deserves it.
Well, it's the
if
way
there's an animator out there.
The way I look at it is, I'm like, you know, you look at something like a Devin Townsend album, for example, and that is similar in the energy that it's bringing and the variety that you're getting, but it's different in its own way because Devin Townsend is Devin Townsend, and that has a distinct sound about it. But this really felt to me like it was from start to finish one whole continuous piece of music that could have been presented as like an opera or something like that, or some sort of like performance to go with it.
Yeah.
That tells a continuous story throughout. I mean, I still am struck by how the closing track made me feel.
Yeah.
The sense of absolute terror and dread that it invoked in me. And music just doesn't do that for me. Like that music can make me sad, it can make me happy, it can make me angry. this is very, very rarely
Yeah.
can I hear a piece of music that will invoke a sense of terror or
Fight
and
or
or
flight.
dread. And
It's almost
but
set off your fight and flight
that
mode.
did it.
Yeah.
So
Scott Ian,
incredible.
I think Scott Ian played on the thing too. I saw a video the other day or yesterday, and it was Scott Ian, the Anthrax guitarist. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was playing, and Igor was in the studio, and I'm
Maybe.
like, that is so mad. Like, it just, that guy's everywhere. I love Scott Ian.
Scott Ian will do everything, mate. That's
I
great.
love him.
Maybe we should
He's
hit him
like-
up
he's
about
like-
the podcast.
He's a pop archer. He loves pop culture so much. He's
They're
like,
hey,
he's an
yeah,
icon.
bro, do you want to come and do our like shitty little podcast?
Yeah. I just want to talk to you about the time. Remember that time you were on Married with Children, man?
Oh man, are you doing all right with a bit of the cold snap down there?
Yeah, man. It got real cold.
One
Like, it
last
got
gasp
real
before
cold.
summer
Yeah,
hits.
that's pretty much it. Hopefully. How you going, bro?
Yeah, look, it was pretty fucking hot yesterday, and
Yeah.
then today it's been cool and raining, so which is a nice change of pace. But we're finally getting some rain that we need up here, which is good. But no, man, I've been really good. I finally got around to watching Sinners. I've been wanting to watch that one for a little while.
Same here. Is it good?
Bro, watch it.
Okay. Because I miss good vampire movies, bro.
Well, here's the thing. The first, the vampires is like, what's that movie? Is it Dusk Till Dawn? Where
Yeah,
you think it's like a getaway movie or something like that,
From
and then
start to finish.
halfway through it turns into this like vampire shit. It felt very similar to that. In that the vampires aren't really there. Sorry, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Sinners, I should say.
Yeah.
It really didn't jump ahead like a couple of minutes if you don't want anything, but like it really didn't feel like there was much happening because I'm like I was like 45 minutes into the movie and I'm like, I'm sure I heard that this was about vampires. When are we going to get to the vampires, bro? And then it kind of like starts to take that turn, but the movie it's about so much more. Like this is like not just a vampire movie. I mean, this is a movie about, I'm pretty sure post World War One, like southern state, small town,
Okay.
America.
So it would have been like around like that Prohibition era and stuff. Would that have been around the Prohibition eras and stuff like that?
I mean, Prohibition's not a factor in this film.
Okay. So
But it's like, there's lots of racist stuff. Like lots and lots of racism because it's the deep south, right? So
Yeah,
they're
of
like,
course.
down there, and there's a moment in the film because they talk about like, music every so often, like someone will come along who has the ability to play music that like transcends like space and time or whatever, and it's like this whole their talent is just so like evokes such emotion that it's like this universal experience, right? And there's a point in the film where this guy is playing, and this is like the early 1900s.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And this dude comes in and he's like playing on his like laps, like steel acoustic, whatever. And then this dude comes in like fucking 70s get up with like an electric guitar and starts playing. And you're like, what the fuck? But then you realize it's like, okay, this is the talent transcending space and time sort of thing they're talking about. And the person's not actually there, but it's a visual representation of that idea. And then it moves around the space and you're seeing all of these other people, from different genres and different cultural stuff, and going forward in time and back in time and this whole kind of thing. And it's like this transcendent moment in the movie. And I think it resonated with me because I'm like, that's how shit fucking feels for me. Like when I hear something that is really fucking like just dialed in so well, and it just nails the emotion it's trying to convey. That's how I feel listening to that shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm like, that was that was a part of the film where and look, there's a lot of, it's about, obviously, like a lot of racism, and there's a lot of, like black culture represented in the film. And, so there's probably a lot of stuff that I maybe missed in it because, again, being a white Australian dude, there's some stuff that probably went over my head with that. But from the perspective of the way music is presented in this film as having this, spiritual power, I guess, I felt that it was finally represented on screen in a way that I just don't quite think I've really seen before.
Yeah, Matt, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna watch it.
And then
That's
the
what I
vampire
really
shit
wanna
sort of
watch.
really starts to kick off, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, sweet.
And it gets pretty hectic. But really, really good movie. I can see why it got so much praise. I really,
cool.
really can. Like, if you get the chance to watch it, try and just find a time where you can just sit down and watch it uninterrupted. Keep off your phone. Just watch it and drink it in as it is.
Is a good soundtrack?
There's lots of blues music. Lots and lots of blues music. So
I'm gonna make sure I watch it on the big screen with the surround sound.
It's
that depth to it.
The way they use music in there is essential.
Yeah, well,
very, very important to the thing. So
good.
Really cool. Really, really enjoying it. But look, speaking of the importance of using music, let's get to our guest today, mate. So this is, why don't you tell us about Dr. Mike?
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to actually meet Dr. Mike at the Best More listening party, which video will be coming out very soon about that once I get through my corrupted files and I get the good ones that I can use.
Oh no.
Yep, but that's what I get for not reformatting my stuff often enough. Regardless, we move on. But Dr. Mike is the absolute man at the moment. He's the man that everyone wants to go and record with. So much so that, Anton and Major are talking about going to record with them. Bessemer.
Oh, they do some good work.
Yeah, Bessemer have recorded with them, and they're just the absolute mammoth whisperhead have recorded with them. And that's just the people from sort of the New South Wales area. And he's recorded people from all up and down the East Coast, and I'm sure the rest of Australia. So, without further ado, let's get into the chat with Dr. Mike and let's go learn some cool stuff.
Let's go. Massive, massive thank you to Dr. Mike for jumping on the podcast today. Welcome. How you doing? How's things down there for you?
Hey guys, thank you for having me. Things are good here, very hectic. It's the end of the year and things are just piling up and coming in. And then on top of that, I have the URM course, which I'm doing, mixing challenge. So it's just hectic as. It's nonstop.
Awesome.
That's what it is.
Everyone wants everything done before the end of the year, right?
Well, everyone wants that. People don't adhere to their own deadlines sometimes, or there are no deadlines and then things just pile up. So it's chaos. And over time, I just embrace that chaos and I learn to live with this and somehow take time off. I will take time off from some point December to some point January. I don't know yet even. It's that.
Yeah, whatever you got to do to make it work, mate. Whatever you got to do to make it work. That's what's important.
Yeah.
So, you've obviously been doing, production for heavy metal stuff and hardcore stuff for a while now, but just for the uninitiated, what's a little bit of your background and history and how you got into doing what you're doing?
Well, I've been in the business for 10 years now. This November is the 10th anniversary of my studio, which is fun.
Perfect timing then.
Yeah. Time flies and it's scary. But the background is pretty vast, but if we're just talking music, so I started in Melbourne 10 years ago, professionally in the business, recording and producing bands. Before that, obviously, I was playing. I played piano when I was young, and then I played guitar, played in bands back in Moscow and here in Australia as well. So I've always been connected to music somehow. It's never been, it's always been a part of my life. So I guess there is that. Obviously, jumping into this business full-time studio recording is not possible right away. So I've merged this with my scientific background back in the day. We can talk about that maybe later. But throughout the years, I was finding my niche, and I worked with different bands, ranging from thrash metal, black metal, death metal, to metalcore, rock, progressive rock, like atmospheric post-rock, post-metal, atmospheric black metal, melodic metal, whatever it is. And I guess over time, I just started to refine my own sound and the sound of the bands that I'm working with. And it's obviously always a progression, so you don't hit it right away, never happens. But over time, I guess I started growing and my band started to grow as well. And that's how it went, I think.
Okay, so like when it comes to heavy and like alternative music, you know, in Australia, like you're one of the guys with that, you know, like you.
Here's a little bit. I mean, everybody's trying to record with him, and everybody wants to record with him. I was lucky enough to hear his stuff that he did with Best More most recently.
Too kind.
It's just an absolutely, completely new sound for them. It just feels like a completely refreshed band in such a good way. Not saying that there was anything wrong with them beforehand, but yeah, it's you've done some great work in the whole recording process and the production that went along with it.
Thanks, man. We try. I guess we achieve some of the goals. And it's getting easier lately. I guess I've hit what I needed to hit in terms of the skill to get the real results for the bands that I work with. Although I've had some high quality projects in the past for sure as well.
So speaking of that, I mean, who are some of the bands that you've worked with that you know people might recognize the names of, just so they can have some ideas of your work that they might already know?
Can I look up on Spotify so that I don't miss something important?
Of course,
yes,
of course you can. Feel free. We would not want you to leave anyone off the list at all.
Because I can tell you before we dive into this that when you work with so many bands and so deeply, you just lose track. And when people meet me at parties and stuff and they ask, hey, what are you working on right now? And I can't remember because there's just too much.
So much on the go at once.
Yeah. Like
when everybody wants a piece, that's the thing. How do you actually find you departmentalize everything and keep everything sort of in the right wheelhouse whenever you're approaching so many different bands at one time?
Yeah. Well, it's a complex question. I just learned to manage my time well, I would say. So this pretty much goes outside of the music part of things and goes to the management, admin, business side of things, right? To the different side. And I think I've just, because of my education and because I was involved in science, and it was like a high pressure sort of environment, and I think I learned to manage my processes decently well back in the day. Unfortunately, I cannot say that I've mastered it. I've had a lot of little hiccups in the past, which will restrict me saying, yeah, I freaking nailed it, man. I don't like doing that. Always learning. But the level of efficiency that I can achieve, I think, stems from there. And if we're talking about like details, I use some systems. I use CRM system to track projects, to follow up with clients. And I'm going to be honest with you, if I didn't use one, I wouldn't have made it full-time in the industry at all. There were projects with which I followed up for a couple of years, 3 years, and they turned into paying projects of really cool music. That I learned from the American community. In America, music business is a bit faster than in Australia, and probably because of the size of the country, a bit more competitive, a bit more money involved, and people hustle super hard. Which we can dive into later, but that skill set I learned from the podcast called the Six Figure Home Studio Podcast back in the day, which is now the Six Figure Creative Podcast. It's a podcast how to basically organize, manage, and run small businesses like in creative spaces, which mine is.
Okay, far out.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So I've done a lot of learning in the field from best in the game, basically, in America. There are resources. There is the URM community, which is free, actually. You can participate in Nail the Mix. which is not too expensive. You get multi-tracks of popular songs, and then you get an explanation of how that was mixed. So if we're talking about skill set in mixing, that's we can talk about that a bit later. I have something in the works, so where I'm learning right now as well. But sorry,
No,
went
that's
on
okay.
No, this is
That's
this
okay.
is literally the reason why we do this.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I've dabbled in production, like very, nothing compared to the kind of stuff that you've worked on, and nowhere near as full time as you have. But I understand that to a much more a limited degree the sort of scattered nature of the process sometimes, and you can have a million things firing in your brain at once, and you're trying to like condense them all into like a flow of consciousness that makes sense to try and get it all out. So I have a, again, not nearly as much as what you've done, but I understand the
Chaos.
the craziness and the chaos that can come with it.
Yeah. Anyways, so some of the bands that I worked with,
Yeah.
some of the highlights: Deadweight 80. If you've heard of them, hardcore from Melbourne.
The name, I have heard the name. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing them or actually check their stuff out yet, but the name is, I have Reputation, heard of them. Sorry.
Yeah, they're a great band. So also 89 Deep. It's like new metal from Queensland. Two guys, super sick band. Like really stoked to work with them. They're not known, unfortunately.
Okay, not yet.
Not yet. No, it's a gamble. Whisperhead. I think you know of them.
Yeah, definitely know them. Yes.
Not all of the songs, some songs, because I think they are more comfortable doing that in person somewhere locally. But we've done some great work. Some of the songs sound really cool. Gladiolus, have you heard of them?
No.
Prague rock, Prague metal, Devin Townsend style from Brisbane. Yeah.
Okay, far out. You get
Also sick album, 10 out of 10 on Prog Sphere. No one fucking heard it.
Oh wow.
Always that, man.
Oh wow.
I don't know. But we just keep going. There's a UK band called Knowing Hunger. I've done 2 songs for them and they're cool. They're doing like modern metalcore drop tuning. Claret Ash. That's from Canberra. Atmospheric black metal. Super amazing band. I think they are done or not. James is the leader of the band. Maybe James is one of the central people in black metal movement in Canberra, I would say.
Okay.
So he's in Claret Ash, and he has a lot of side projects. We're currently working on something more death oriented for him. Yeah, All Is Violent. That's a Melbourne band doing post-metal atmospheric prog type of thing.
Okay.
Like riffs. We've done 2 EPs with them. Paeon. 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 Yeah.
Okay.
It's a prog metal band from Melbourne. Second EP done as well. And these are just the recents.
Oh.
Let me know. Transition.
Man, so you got so basically it's a very extensive list. I mean, everyone's, like we said, is kind of clamoring to work with you. I get the sense that you've got no shortage of projects to work on at the moment.
Not anymore. So this is all recent, and there is a lot more throughout the years. But I gotta say that for some years I struggled to fit enough to feel comfortable in terms of the process of the income and the business, because I spent a lot of time looking for clients in post-COVID. So we can also say it was COVID, but I mean, at the same time, I've been full-time since 2020, and I've also been full-time in 2018. So I guess when you are full-time and you're making full-time income so that you can pay your bills, you gotta have a lot of projects.
Right?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do. And you got to learn how to manage them. That's the whole point of managing your own business.
Otherwise, you're just fucked.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Speaking about your science background, tell everyone about that a bit.
Yeah, sure. How do I get started? So, I come from Russia. I moved here 11 years ago, right? I come from a family of scientists. My father is a professor at university, mathematician, advanced scientist, let's put it this way. Back when I was a kid, the environment in Russia is different from Australia. It's obviously more tense, financially more tense as well, at least back in the day. And you don't choose music as career. I mean, if you do, you could be a classical musician or you could be a pop artist. And when I'm saying pop artist, it's not like pop music in Australia. It's like shit pop, which is government fed, corrupted. Some pop music in Russia would be like females who are partners to rich people, and rich people invest into those females so that they go on stage.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So I fucking despise that shit. I've never considered a career in music in Russia, and metal music in Russia is very small, very underground. So I was supposed to be a scientist, and I was interested in that as well. I studied physics in Moscow, and then I studied with good results, which allowed me to go to the United States for 4 months and then get a scholarship here to do my PhD. So I was achieving results, right? But well, when you study physics in a Soviet university, you study a lot of different things, and that was a good education actually, because it allowed me to understand sound much better than without it. But then when I came here, so in Moscow, I played in a band when I grew up in my teens, joined bands, and one of the bands was called Gift of Madness. They played groove metal inspired by Lamb of God, Pantera, Killswitch, and
Nice.
like a blend of groove metal and metalcore and Meshuggah. These were our fucking favorite bands back in the day. All that we listened to. And I played in that band, and we hit the studio with an album. I helped write the album, and this was my first recording studio session. The engineer there, whose name is Arkady, he was incredible, and he showed a lot of recording techniques to me. Nothing that you would consider fancy, but just the approach. It clicked with me back then. And that was about, well, a few months before I left Russia at all. Like, finally. I went to America. We played some shows, opened for Killswitch Engage, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And we were not tight enough. Like, looking back, I cringe, but we still did that, which was fun. And then I left and came here. And so, like, it was on the rise with my band. Like, if I stayed, we probably would have played decent shows for a while. And I just came here and lost that. I started studying, and I've had some of the, well, basically spare time at night. And I decided that, well, why don't I buy a pair of studio monitors and give production a shot? Because I was missing music. I couldn't, like, no friends, no one. I don't know anyone. My English wasn't perfect back in the day, even though I obviously could talk. And I studied English since I was a kid, as we do in Russia. But it, still language barrier, and I was busy at university. So I bought a pair of monitors, set them in the corner of my living room next to my ex-wife. She was sitting on the couch, and I was mixing at night, like doing lessons, learning, watching tutorials, and just doing, like, practicing on multi-tracks that I downloaded online. Back in the day, it was quite limited, and in 2014, I don't think that Nail the Mix actually started yet. Not that I could find it. And because the situation right now is very different. But literally, so what I'm trying to say is, with very limited experience, I started offering basic services to my friends for free. I had some network of musician friends back in Moscow, not in Australia. So I started offering some stuff for them for free, and then I think I started to charge like $50 per mix, which I wouldn't consider a good mix now, but for $50 it was fine. And yeah, I think I should take a break here because then the story continues.
Yeah, but
Okay.
this is fascinating. I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing that, you know, people say, well, how do I get started doing this
Yeah.
kind of work? You know what I mean? And that's how you get started. You buy a pair of studio monitors and a basic setup, and you start finding multi-tracks and practicing and watching tutorials and learning how to do it by doing it. It's one of those things where, you know, there's all of these academies and all of these, you know, like schools that you can go to learn how to do audio engineering and stuff like that, but nothing beats doing it, you know, and getting that that experience, that hands-on experience. That's where I think the most valuable lessons come from. Not saying that there isn't value in doing those other forms of study, because of course there is. There's a lot of theory behind the whys of a lot of stuff, but you know, when you're in the trenches doing the work and learning it with your ears, that's, you know, that's the that gives you a value of experience that no amount of theoretical and book learning is going to give you for the process. And you know, I mean, people that for someone that's played music as well, you have an understanding from that aspect of it too, which I think is really important. You know, I know there's obviously a lot of producers out there that, you know, that haven't ever played music themselves, and they bring a certain approach to it. And I think that, you know, that's fine. That's you know, they've got their own skill sets and their own knowledge and understanding they bring to it. And that's not to try and say that that's not on par with people that have played music, because everyone's different and everyone's experience is different, right? But I think in terms of being able to relate to other musicians, it adds a lot of value to the process, because you know how to speak musician. You know,
that's right. And I think that any sound engineer should somehow try to get in the shoes of a musician as well. Indeed, be it learning an instrument, or be it being at a show and being on stage, or doing live sound for them so that they can feel what it is to be on tour and or write music. So be involved in the creative process. And also I wanted to say that learning mixing and music production was no different from learning a musical instrument, because, you know, you can learn Excel, you can learn programming, I guess. But with music instrument, I can't say I learned guitar. I haven't. You never master it. You always keep learning, keep practicing, keep developing your skills if you intend to be a great guitar player. And you do exactly the same with mixing. Now, there is a bit more of a scientific part of it. Yes, that's fine. But the motivation to learn something, to reach the unachievable, you know, levels of mastery, as a guitarist, I guess, you know, you want to be the fastest guitarist in the world, like Yngwie Malmsteen, or you want to play the most sophisticated drop tuning, like string skipping cleanly and stuff like that. That's all awesome, and no one says that you will achieve that. It depends on you. But the like ultimate measure of whether you can achieve your goal, your dream, is how much effort you put into it, how much motivation you have to learn, and how much analysis you can put in so that you learn efficiently as well, and you don't just waste your time sitting playing the same thing on guitar, if we take that as an example, right? So that it doesn't progress. You have to like approach it from different levels, take lessons sometimes, compare, find different materials, and same with audio mixing. And that sort of motivation brings me back to a young engineer who wants to get started, because I do lately receive some intern emails.
Wow.
Well, look, I mean, I've been receiving that for a little while now, because my one of the things to promote my business, I have put a lot of thought into Google and search engines and all of that shit. Let's put it this way. I haven't visited that for many years now, which is great. But back in the day, I have, and it has kind of built up, and my my website pops up if you search for studios. So it's relatively easy to find it and apply as an intern. But there is like, if you want to be an intern in the studio, you have to come in and offer real value. And people don't understand what it is to be in the studio. People don't understand the pressure, the deadlines, stresses, like how much time you have, how like you can't afford to lose time because it bleeds your income or your efficiency or how much you can do. And not to say that you have to do it because of money. Money gets you by, but you have to do it because you want to make great music. If you want to make great music, you have to pay your bills or all that shit. You have to be in decent shape. You have to not go crazy, and all the stress levels. You have to manage this. And I guess it's a bit of a hidden career. People don't know what it is inside of studios because we're solo operators. But this brings me back to, if someone wants to learn this, they should start learning themselves. And if they want to come to a studio, sometimes what I've done back in the day, I'll tell you this story. I never recorded fucking drums, ever. Never recorded drums. Never. I wanted to record drums. Then it naturally happened to me. I found a studio owner, I can't even remember, I think on Facebook, we connected somehow, and I think I brought him a project. I think that's what it was. Or we talked and he allowed me to just hang around in one of the sessions, which is rare, but it's doable. You just basically sit there and observe and be a fly on the wall, and maybe if they are kind enough, you can ask some questions, and they have been that. That's the first story of how I observed doing drums. Then I just looked up online, and then second time I hired that guy as a session musician, and I think I just observed him set up the kit. That's it. Next time I had to hit up the studio. I think we hired another studio as well, and I observed there, but later on, I took a first project and I just did it. The owner of the studio, the engineer, I told him that I'm not experienced, and he helped me mic it up, set it up, put the gains correctly on the console or mic pre's, and that's it. That sounded okay. They just helped me. And that's how you do it. You have to find a small budget. It was like $300 per day for the studio. You have to find a band which will be convinced to work with you. You have to show your results to them. Somehow your mixes already have to sound convincing. And these days, they have to sound fucking convincing. These days, the bar is so high, it's fucked.
Well, you can see what bedroom artists can come out with now. Do you know what I mean? And I've heard some great mixes come out of people's bedrooms. So, I mean, if people are coming out to studios now.
I mean, we've said this on the podcast, but, in the past, is like, the level of stuff that is coming out now, and because like 20 years ago, right, bands would get a budget and they'd still have, they'd still come out with something that didn't sound ultimately that great, because for one, the limited resources, and they had limited options of who they could go to, and they had to make the money last. And so, okay, even with a budget, you would still come out with something that was okay, but it was, by today's standards, it just didn't sound that great. Whereas nowadays, like there's so many, people that are out there doing it, and there's lots of tutorials on how to help things sound really, really nice. And the level of what, and I hate to speak of it this way, but the level of product that people are putting out there in terms of their music is just, the quality of the production is a lot higher in general. Especially in the metal space, like I tell people from overseas all the time, I'm like, the level of talent in the bands in Australia is crazy compared to markets like the US, because in Australia, and I'd like to actually put this thought across to you and see what you think of it, because in my view, the reason that the quality of the songs that people are putting out in Australia is as high as it is because, Kyle often says it's a niche genre in a small country, right? So the market is like non-existent. We go into it, my philosophy or my theory is we go into it knowing that, we go into it not expecting to make it, right? We go into doing metal purely out of love, not to try and make a career out of it. As much as we might say, oh yeah, it'd be nice to be able to make a career out of it. We know that the reality of that happening is so low, especially being over here. So
And
we stick to our guns, like we stick to our artistic vision a lot more over here, I think, rather than compromising or chasing a trend or doing whatever. And I think that at the end of the day, that's creating, you know, stronger music,
yes.
you know, as you know, than a lot of people would expect. Like the level that these bands are at versus the quality of the music that they're releasing is ridiculous. And that's kind of my thought process on it anyway. I think that's what's kind of going on there. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
That's an interesting idea. So I would say that in the US, the market is bigger, and so the niche is bigger, the audience is bigger, and therefore the pocket, let's say, of the sound that you want to copy if you want to be successful and sell your music, like there's a bigger pocket, like American rock, metal, poppy type of thing, and it's wider and bigger, and so more bands can aim for that and actually hit their financial goals. I guess that's a speculation, but maybe at least intend to. Whereas in Australia, that pocket that I was just describing is much smaller, and to me, it's just metalcore, more than metalcore, like you know, the larger gigs Destroy All Lines put out. So this is a great niche, but it's a single niche, and there is no other niche in Australia that would be a safe bet, because death metal bands in Australia that are successful are doing that for pure love, for sure. And they're just successful because the music is so strong that the message carries over. And indeed, doing that for the music and just for the soul of music, rather than aiming for a niche to find your finances and then drive your music. Obviously, the music wins. Obviously.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why we do it. That's who we are.
Yeah.
And
I reckon death metal do probably have some of the most dedicated fans in Australia.
yep.
I think we were talking about this at Unreal Studios, you know, like as much as I do love thrash metal and stuff like that, it's really hard because there's been no substantial movement or explosion in the whole thrash scene in such a long time.
Thrash is thrash for
exactly. It hasn't changed
for
in
40 plus
40
years, right?
years, you know what I mean? And just trying to look for that band that sort of explodes and does things different. And I don't know if we're ever going to find it again, but in saying that, wow, the fans are dedicated. And it's just like, just having that dedication to the music, I think is just the thing that carries over, is the big thing that carries it all over.
Yes. I love that. That's really good, because that's pure Australia to me. The best part of Australia is that honesty and commitment to music. I really respect that, and I'm a part of it.
You are in a big way.
I wanted to ask, because you were kind of talking earlier about like how your physics studies have helped with your, you know, production and you know, making music side of things. You know, again, this is my experience is far lesser than yours in this arena. But again, like I've, you know, was doing studying a bit of physics and stuff back in when, you know, in like my later years in high school, and then later on, a few years later, when I went to study music at TAFE, I did find some of that knowledge transferable, because you're talking about like sound waves and the electronics and that sort of stuff as well. But like, how, you know, what are some of the key ways for you that you've managed to like transfer some of that knowledge across from one arena into the other?
When I studied physics, it was quite sophisticated. We went into deep theories and mathematical equations and all of that. And I wasn't super talented in that field. Always struggled. But when it came to audio, I found some basic concepts very useful. So waves and the theory of how sound transduces in spaces, that was helpful for sure, both with treating my room and understanding its acoustics, because this is all
interference patterns and all of that. Yeah.
Plus, I was able to use actual calculators to build room like basic models and then predict how sound will be coming here and there and treating it accordingly. Obviously nowhere near the professional level, but it did get me a decent understanding, and my room is sounding quite good now because of that. That's one of the things. Another thing is basic maths, well, more or less basic, and because the sound and the level of the sound is not linear, and understanding non-linear principles, because when you move faders, it's all a different metering scale, and it's not a linear, so like it doesn't go one-to-one. It has a weird
Curve, has a curve in it.
yeah, and you have to learn how to measure it accordingly so that your mixes, well, this basically helps to dial in clean mixes. If you are using the right levels, the right gain staging, it will make your songs sound better, and you will be able to balance it better because there is no clipping, no distortion. It's pristine, clean sound, and it hits that equation the right way. And so I use meters to this day, and I know where to aim for. I've calibrated my positions, and that definitely has helped me a lot in my career. Understanding phase and how phase cancellation works. So, for instance, a simple example is snare top and snare bottom, because they're mic'd up with a pattern reversed 180 degrees. One cancels another because the sound goes one way or the other way, and you have to flip the phase of that in order for the sounds to become bigger. But that goes a longer way. In modern productions, we're stacking drum samples, and this is not just one sound. In my template right now, I have like 5 channels per mix active with samples, each containing a blend of 8. So if you know trigger 2, the whole thing is full for me. I've always been that. I've always overdone things, overcomplicated them. That's unfortunately the bad part of science that came into this. But having said that, if you have 5 samples and all weirdly aligned or misaligned because of the phase, because you never know how the manufacturer made that sound and how closely they cut that sample to the start of the sound. If there's discrepancy in cutting them, they will all interfere and not, sum properly into a sharp transient that we all want. So I can sit there and measure and compensate for phase, which kills my ears but makes my mixes better. So that aspect, there are a few to apply from pure scientific point. How to solder iron. I can change a pickup on a guitar or solder my gear, which I don't.
No, well, I mean, how much does that save you in just that sort of knowledge, just being handy with your hands, and if something just like that goes wrong, you have the ability to fix it.
Yeah, I guess well, being good with computers as well and backups.
But I mean, yeah, that's like so many great examples in there, and I think it's one of those things that, while it doesn't necessarily seem to the average observer like there would be transferable knowledge there, it gives an understanding. It's like I look at I look at people, because one of the questions that we used to ask and for people on the podcast was, what instrument do you what instrument don't you know how to play that you wish you knew how to play, or that you wish you could learn how to play? And one of the ones that came up all the time was piano. And I piano was the first instrument that I properly learned. And, I often say, I think it gives such a fundamental understanding of so many like core parts of music and music theory, even without knowing that it's teaching music theory. The ability of the way that the chord progression versus the melody line interact with one another, or doing opposing runs at the same time, or learning how to read music, like read sheet music, and understanding how that breaks down. All of those things are, there's plenty of incredibly talented musicians out there who don't know any of that stuff, but I think it's a great foundation to build on for broader music knowledge and understanding for a lot of people. And I highly encourage it. I think any musician out there that's looking to expand their knowledge and gain a deeper understanding of music, if they don't play piano, I'm like, learn how to play piano, learn how to read music and play piano. It will add so much to your things. So I love this idea of more just skilling up, constantly skilling up. That's how you make it. That's how you make it in the business. Is you never stop learning, you never stop trying to teach yourself and improve things. you know, I wanted to sort of ask though, your how do you, let's say a band comes to you and they're like, yep, we want you to record our stuff or mix our stuff, whatever. What's your process that you tend to work through with that? And I know they might be kind of different in each case, but is there like some fundamental or core elements that you're going through every time in your process when you're working with a band?
Yep, totally. So firstly, there is a discovery process. We jump on a call and I see what they are up to. Do they need recording? Do they need production and helping with their songs to sound, well, to be musically the best as well as sound the best? Or do they just want to mix and are happy to record themselves? So this allows me to send them some materials, some guides, or explain how to record the best at home, or receive materials from them, which would be guitar profiles, if we are working on the actual music, or demos if we are going to go to record. And then there would be some discussions on who plays which instrument, how well they play it, how comfortable they are, how experienced they are in recording with a click and stuff like that. If it comes to writing music for bands or helping refine their songwriting, then I just do some tests of what I hear in their music. I usually have to get inspired. And when that happens, I just send them basic pre-production executed in Logic with MIDI guitars, MIDI bass, MIDI drums, and we just mash the song out of that, depending on how many changes were made. Maybe it's a subtle chord change here, maybe it's a different riff run added, or maybe it's a complete drum rework. Depends. Sometimes they say, well, we don't know how to program drums, we need you to help, and I do that. But this is a creative part. For technical part, it's pretty, I have an established process. It's pretty simple these days. We just, once we finish pre-pro, or in case of band, finishing pre-pro when they can fully complete Guitar Pro themselves, tablatures, and record demos, and they sound good. We hit the studio, they send me MIDI maps, we go record drums. I hire out studios in the city. I've done a lot of work at Dan Presland's studio, Bushido Studios. It's a great studio. I've done some work at other places, Rangemaster in the Hills. Depending on, so this is where I act as a producer, which is basically a manager. I select what is more appropriate for the project based on the sound they want. Maybe a band wants to record live, or maybe they want cabs for guitars. They don't want to record here, which is without a cab, through IR box. All these things are refined, but basically I sit through the sessions, help them set up gear. Obviously, I mic up the drum kit and hit record, mark out best takes on the fly. And then just on the fly, after they are done, if we're talking drums, maybe 5-6 takes, we put it together, take a listen, they do touch-ups. That's more or less done, move on to the next song. If we're talking about bass and guitars, these most of the time are done here, or they just send it themselves if they are confident in recording. Obviously sounds better in the studio environment because you have more details to work with. You can, well, you have someone else helping, which is me. When I'm recording myself, it's pretty shit in terms of complexity because there is no one helping. When I'm helping other musicians, it's much easier. I can mark takes, just follow, and then I just select the best bits, comp it together like a puzzle piece, and then you have your guitars. Same with bass, vocals. We do takes here as well. And then it comes to mixing. I do production work sometimes, so synths, keys, depending on what the project needs. Sometimes they send me stuff that they have recorded and ask me to add synths and production, which is also cool. But it's mixing. It's been a lot of mixing lately, which is great.
Far out. I remember when I went to 3-4 Studios, Antonio Hanna.
Yeah.
He's a great producer, and yeah, just watching that guy work after you've done a guitar track or something like that, or he did a couple of takes, and he's just like, just give me 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
you're just watching him work through that guitar, like the Pro Tools thing or whatever he was using at the time, and watching him just cut and cut and cut and cut, and I'm like, is the more cuts he's doing, is the worse that we are? Because I'm starting to think like there's a lot of cuts going on here. Should he be cutting this much? Is it because we suck at you cutting this much?
Well, like I mean, I had I found a similar experience. I mean, I was fortunate enough in 2012 to go to Los Angeles and record an EP with Logan Mader, which was a crazy experience. Like never in a million years thought that something I'd be able to do, and like watching him work was crazy. Like a similar experience to what Kyle's like. You'd lay a take down and he'd be there and he'd be like, all right, cool, and be like clicking and shortcuts and like the whole thing would be just moving so fast you couldn't even really tell half of what he was doing because he was just so quick at it.
Zooming in, zooming out, getting
and-
the cut down like the
Yep.
right millisecond.
Yep, bingo, getting all the cuts and the transitions just right and the little bits of crossovers are like stretching this bit here so the sustain goes just long enough and all of that kind of stuff. And I mean,
To be fair, they could be doing nothing, and I'm just like, all I'm sitting there is like, this is what I paid for.
Yeah.
This is what I paid, and he's just like tapping buttons, zooming in, zooming out, making it look like he's doing stuff, and I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, dude's working. Let's go.
Yeah, but like I mean that's the thing, it's one of those. I mean I have I am really fascinated watching because like I said, like I have dabbled in production myself and recording stuff myself, but like when I get to watch a real producer or a real mix engineer, like someone who's does it full time as their thing, when I get to watch those people do their job, I'm just like, I'm fascinated. I'm just watching it and I'm just like trying to keep up in with everything that they're doing there. And even like I think every time I've watched someone like that in that environment, I've picked up something like a little trick here or there, or a little bit here or there. And I mean, even trick. I hesitate to use the word trick because it's like people think, oh, there's this one trick will like make you a genius at mixing, or this other, this one plugin will solve your problems. And it's like no, because every song is different and every band is different, and every song requires its own unique approach.
That's marketing.
And anyone who tells you that their course will make you a master at it, or that this one trick will solve all your problems, they're just trying to sell you something. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I've digged into that.
I have to. Don't worry. I bought plugins and I'm like, yeah, this will be the plugin that'll like make all my shit sound really, really good. And garbage in, garbage out. You know what I mean? Like you got to get it. You got to get it right at the source, as I've stolen from a certain YouTube channel. But there's so much to the scope of the role and what that sounds like. The kind of work that you're doing just sounds like you just you wear so many different hats throughout the course of what you're doing for work, and you take on so many different roles depending on what's needed from the project. And I just think that's that's incredible. I have to admire someone that can take on that sort of position and move from one role to another like that, because it's I couldn't do it. Like if I'm a producer and if I'm doing production, I'm in production mode for the whole day. That's it. I can't switch it up. I can't change and pivot to something else, But
I think there's something to be said though, like as much as the bands are great and stuff like that, there needs to be a special hat off moment to people like you that make the bands sound so great when we get them on Spotify and stuff like that. Because without people like you, it's a bunch of smooth brain monkeys like me that just, or out there, like, you know what I mean? That can play music, that, can do the stuff, but could not record to save our lives, and or could and make it just sound shit.
Yeah. You put it down and you're just like, sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's interesting. I have a change of perspective because for me, everything is really easy right now. Really fucking easy. I can come and just freaking put the preamp and dial it in. Let's go, and it's all about the takes now. Like
It's good.
that's how I operate on a daily basis. The same with mixing. Because I'm doing this course with the URM now, which is a very intense speed mixing course, and we learn to focus on the right thing in mixing, And the first thing that comes is balance. It's not the fucking compression.
Yeah.
The second thing is EQ.
Yeah. Well, it's that dry mix, right? You got to get the dry mix before you touch any plugins of any kind. You just get the dry mix, and then you go from there. Are there any courses or like specific tutorials out there that you do recommend that you've found helpful that you think other people might get benefit out of?
Absolutely. So the URM community and Nail the Mix, I'm not affiliated with them, but these are by far the largest community for producers, engineers, and now musicians as well, as they run Riff Hard thing, which I don't know what it is, but something guitar related with challenges and big community. They've grown so much. It's a closed community in which multi-tracks of known songs are supplied. There was Lamb of God, there was Meshuggah, there were any big bands you can imagine, or almost any would be there, and there would be producers doing private streams of how they mixed that song. And you have challenges, you have a chance to access those multi-tracks. And the only thing that I really heavily regret is that I didn't dive into this education earlier. And I really regret that, because I've had a few years when I was not confident with my mixes enough, and that was due to this fact. And especially right now in 2025, the time has passed. I regret that in 2020 I didn't spend time in lockdowns learning. That would have been a very incredible time investment, but for some reason I didn't. I guess it was just all so shocking. And
It was a weird time. Everything went, yeah.
Lots of unusual decisions were made during that time frame. I don't think we can blame ourselves for
crazy.
for maybe not making the best decisions at that point in our lives.
Maybe. It's that one for sure. And then YouTube. Produce Like a Pro is good. My colleague Nicholas Di Lorenzo runs a mastering YouTube channel. Is keen for mastering. He has grown to 50 fucking K, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like I grew my channel to almost 6K now, but he has grown it to 50. So you know,
score one for you guys for not doing any gatekeeping. You know what I mean? Like in a world where people really, pride themselves on knowing everything and not giving out the information, score on you guys for.
Nah. It's not how it works. I started my YouTube obviously to put myself out there and find more clients, but I still put myself out there by giving, by showing that I can provide value to people and giving that value. And then people who may be my colleagues or competitors or colleagues in different niches see that and hopefully respect me for this. That's all that I do. Unfortunately, lately I have been so focused on learning that I didn't put out too much on YouTube. But gatekeeping makes no sense at all, because you can have all the information on the world, but if you don't do the learning and you don't practice, it's fucking bullshit. It's not gonna help, because indeed there is no such a thing as a single plugin doing justice to your mix. Maybe if there is, it's a bus compressor, but it's so simple you can find that setting literally anywhere. Because the rest comes from moving fucking faders and doing the experiments and doing mistakes yourself. Like, I made a mistake in 2018 when I was recording drums. The drummer wanted more click, and I brought more click to a point where it was so loud that I blew out a tweeter of a speaker in the studio.
Oh my God.
Never forget it. Well, just paid for the repairs and it's fine.
That's it.
Yeah, but you won't make that mistake again. No. but that's the thing. I think when you're doing this as a job, if you're putting out educational content to supplement that, it also lends credibility. It means that not only do you know what you're doing, but you can demonstrate it, the how and the why behind that to other people as well. And I think that just goes a long way towards people looking at what you're doing and you're going, okay, like this guy actually knows what the fuck he's talking about. And I mean, look, and that's, someone who's been in the game for as long as you have, like, it's clear that you know what you're doing. But if anyone was skeptical, they can look at that and see, okay, like, cool, he's got he's got the credibility, like he's got the understanding and the capacity not just to do it, but to explain why it's done that way. Because, you know, I'm sure you've worked with musicians that are like, you know, I want this, I want you to do this. And you're like, well, no, that's not going to work. We should do this instead. And they're insistent on it. And you have to be like, well, no, here's why, you know, this is the reason that, you know, what you're wanting to do might not be the best idea, and why this might perhaps be the better way to do it. So being able to have that discussion with people, I think is that's again another skill that is maybe not essential to the core elements of the job, but it just gives you such that much more, makes you that much more valuable in the role when you're working with people.
Hopefully.
So look, this has been amazing. I mean, this has felt like 10 minutes has gone fucking by, and we're almost at an hour. So I don't, look, we won't keep you any longer, but like, where's the best place for people to find you and what you're doing, and, you know, keeping up with all of your stuff?
You can go to my Instagram, which is just my shit stories every day, where I have no capacity to create any decent posts. But sometimes it's fun. I show what I'm working on. So it's Dr. Mike Metal on Instagram. You can find me. And there would be a LinkTree in Instagram leading you to my YouTube channel. I think that's about it.
I mean, we'll have as many of the social links as we can put down
there
in the description to help people find your stuff there as well. Look, thank you again so much. This has been awesome to chat. Really, really appreciate it. Happy to have you on again anytime. Sure. Anytime.
Keep doing what you're doing, dude.
Keep doing what you're doing. Everybody who's been watching and listening today, thank you so much. We really hope you've had a good time with this one. If you have, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You know, we do also have a Patreon if you're interested. It's just a couple of bucks a month. But, you know, other than that, if you didn't like the video, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, I am the Reverend Raff, along with the beer buddy Kyle. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Dr. Mike for jumping on today. Take care of yourself and your mates, everybody, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We really hope you had a good time. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell down there. It helps the channel grow. We are still a fairly young channel, and we like to try and grow our audience all over the world. We do also, for those of you who are interested, have a Patreon. It's just a couple of bucks a month. At the moment, you get all the videos early and ad-free, but we are working on ways to increase the value of that and make it a bit more enticing. So don't forget to keep an eye out and check back on what's going on over there. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.